When your breath is measured by a machine, every hiss and release of oxygen becomes a reminder you're living on borrowed time. I never thought my final days would be marked by betrayal from someone I once called family. But as I lay there one night, helpless and alone, the hiss stopped. The air stopped. And in the silence, I heard her footsteps. My daughter-in-law, Lisa. And in that terrifying moment, I knew it wasn't just time trying to take me. It was her. But what she didn't know was that I had written something and taped it exactly where she'd never expect. My name is Harold Timmons. I'm 72 years old, and I've lived most of my life with quiet dignity. I was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease 5 years ago. It worsened fast. I now rely on an oxygen tank and a wheelchair. My wife passed away a decade ago, and since then my only son David and his wife Lisa moved into my home to help care for me. Or so I thought. At first, Lisa was kind, dutiful. She brought me meals, changed my bedpan without complaint, and smiled when I called her my angel-in-law. But in the last few months, her smiles became forced, her presence fleeting. I'd hear her sigh heavily when she thought I wasn't listening. She whispered on the phone in clipped, annoyed tones. And David, he just worked longer hours, barely seeing me except for a kiss on the forehead before bed. Then came that night. I woke up gasping. My chest tightened and I clawed for air. The hiss of the oxygen tank, the sound I was so used to, was gone, disconnected. I fumbled for the emergency bell. It had been unplugged. My lungs screamed. My heart thundered. And then she appeared. Lisa stood in the doorway, not shocked, not panicked, just still. She looked at me for a long, frozen second, then walked away. I don't remember much after that. The doctors said David found me in time, that I nearly died of hypoxia, that it was a malfunction. But I knew better. She had tried to kill me. The seed of suspicion sprouted that very night. I couldn't confront her, not yet. I needed proof. I needed a plan. And above all, I needed to act before she tried again. Because now I wasn't just sick, I was prey. But what she didn't count on was that I've lived long enough to see liars, thieves, and even murderers mask themselves in kindness. I've seen people change when inheritance hangs in the air like the stench of spoiled food. Lisa was no exception, and I had just begun to watch her back. I returned home from the hospital 2 days later, more shaken than I let on. My body was weaker, my breathing more labored, but my mind was sharper than ever. Lying in that sterile hospital room, I had only one thought. Lisa tried to kill me. I had to be careful now. If I spoke too soon, David wouldn't believe me. He loved her, blinded by it. And Lisa, she wore her innocence like perfume, light convincing, but it evaporated quickly when no one was watching. Back home, the atmosphere had changed. David was unusually attentive. But Lisa, she didn't look me in the eye anymore. She left the room as soon as she entered it, and her fake cheerfulness returned only when David was near. I watched her closely, and what I saw chilled me. The way she hesitated before plugging in my oxygen machine, the way she muttered under her breath when she thought I was asleep. And then there were the little changes. My medications rearranged. My walker moved just slightly out of reach. My meals colder or sometimes late. Each of these on their own meant nothing, but together they were a pattern. She wanted me gone, but why now? One morning I got my answer. I overheard a phone call, Lisa's voice hissing low in the kitchen. No, not yet. He's stubborn. But once the will's finalized, it won't matter. David's the only beneficiary. Yes, everything's in his name. I froze. The will. I had made it clear years ago that David would inherit the house and savings, but after what I'd seen in Lisa, that would have to change. I didn't want my son to suffer from her poison once I was gone, and more than that, I needed to protect myself. That day, while they were out shopping, I rolled myself into my study. It took everything I had to open the safe, but I managed. Inside was my will. I removed it. Then I wrote a letter by hand. It was slow, painful work, but necessary. In it, I detailed my suspicions, my close call with death and Lisa's behavior. I wrote as though I was already dead. I gave instructions, 2 specific ones, what I wanted David to do, what to look for, who to contact. I sealed it in an envelope and with trembling fingers taped it to the back page of the will, where only someone rifling through it would find it. Then I returned the will to the safe. From that moment on, I began laying small traps. I pretended to forget things I didn't. I left notes out to see if they'd go missing. I even installed a motion-activated camera hidden inside my bookshelf just to capture her when she thought no one was watching. Each day, the mask on Lisa's face cracked a little more. And each night, I grew more certain she wouldn't stop until she got what she wanted. But now, neither would I. The camera paid off sooner than I expected. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon. David had gone to work, and Lisa was supposedly out grocery shopping. I pretended to nap in my recliner, oxygen gently hissing beside me. But when the front door creaked open again 20 minutes later, my heart ticked faster. Through half-lidded eyes, I watched her slink past me. No greetings, no sounds. She made straight for my study. I waited, not moving, barely breathing. 30 minutes passed before she emerged, face pale, lips tight. She glanced toward me with a look I recognized now, disgust, hatred. But she said nothing. That night, when the house went still, I wheeled myself to the bookshelf and retrieved the tiny device. My hands trembled, not from sickness this time, but anticipation. And there she was. On the footage, she rummaged through my desk drawers, opened the file cabinet, pulled out legal papers. She held them to the light, rifled through them, then placed them back hastily when she found nothing. She even opened my pill organizer, stared at it, then shut it again, like she was counting dosages. What was she planning? A week later, I overheard her again, this time on the phone in the hallway right outside my room. I told you soon. He can't last forever. His cough's worse. Once he's gone, it's all ours. The house, the account, everything. I'm not doing this another month. There it was. Clear as daylight. This wasn't about care. It wasn't about love. It was about money. She didn't just want me dead. She was tired of waiting. I considered showing David the video then and there, but I knew what he'd say. You misunderstood. She was stressed. She loves you. He couldn't see what I did. So I waited. And just like I predicted, Lisa's mask began to slip in front of him, too. She forgot to make dinner one night and snapped when David asked why. Another night I heard them arguing something about the cost of my medications, about being stuck here forever. David's voice cracked. He's my father, Lisa. Her answer, yeah, well, maybe not for long. That night I knew I had to accelerate my plan. I updated the letter taped to my will with the date, and I added the USB stick containing the footage. Then I called an old friend, Henry, my lawyer, asking him to come by the following week. I need to update my documents, I said, and I want you to witness something. He agreed. I didn't tell Lisa about the visit. Let her keep thinking I was dying cluelessly in my chair, one breath at a time. Let her believe she was winning, because when you're seen as the dying man in the corner, no one notices when you become the one setting the trap. Henry arrived the following Wednesday just after lunch. I timed it perfectly. Lisa had taken the car to run errands, and David was still at work. Henry looked older than I remembered, but sharp-eyed and steady as ever. He stepped into my study, took one look at me in the chair with the oxygen tube looped behind my ears, and said, "This better not be your last request, Harold." I smiled, hopefully not, but if it is, I want it done right. We spent the next hour reviewing the legal documents. I had him help me draft an updated will, one that ensured David received everything except the house. that I arranged to be placed in a trust to be converted into a care facility for disabled veterans like myself. I also wrote a clause explicitly excluding Lisa from any inheritance, even in the event David tried to pass assets to her posthumously. But the most important part wasn't in the paperwork. It was the letter. I handed Henry the sealed envelope I had previously taped inside the old will. I had rewritten it, updated the details, included dates, audio transcripts, and the USB drive. It contained everything Lisa had done, her visits to the study, her phone calls, her manipulation, and the camera footage of her rifling through my things. "I want this attached to the new will," I told him. "If anything happens to me, anything suspicious, you hand this over to David. Don't wait. And give a copy to the police." "Oh." Henry looked at the envelope, then at me. "You think she'll try again?" I don't think I rasped. I know. He didn't argue. After Henry left, I felt something I hadn't in weeks: peace. For once, the weight of helplessness was lifted. I might not have strength left in my body, but I had control over my ending. If Lisa tried anything again, she wouldn't get away with it. That night I noticed Lisa eyeing me more frequently. Her expression had changed, not just irritation or disdain, but calculation. She was planning something. I could feel it in the room like static in the air. Then 3 days later, the moment came. David was out late. Lisa brought me dinner, a cup of soup, and a slice of bread. She placed the tray on my table and said nothing, only smiled. Too wide, too polite. I waited until she left, then sniffed the soup. Bitter. Off. I didn't eat it. Later that night, I poured it down the drain and collapsed the container into the trash bin in a way that looked used. At 2 a.m., I woke up to muffled voices down the hall. Lisa was pacing, whispering on the phone again. "He's not getting worse. It's like he knows. I just want this to be done." I stayed up until dawn. The next day, I called Henry again. "I think it's happening soon," I said, and I was right. But Lisa had no idea what was waiting for her. It happened on a Monday. Cloudy, sky-silent house, and the air was unusually still, like it was holding its breath. David had gone to visit his old college friend out of town, and Lisa insisted on staying back to take care of things. That morning, she came into my room wearing a crisp white blouse and too much perfume. Her smile was stretched tight over her teeth. "How are we feeling today, Harold?" She chirped, her voice so sweet it curdled in my ears. "Still here," I said, my voice dry but steady, still breathing. She chuckled, then walked over to the oxygen tank. "This old thing's getting rusty. Maybe it's time for a new one." She was testing me, trying to scare me, but I said nothing, just watched. That afternoon she brought me tea. Not the soup this time, just tea. It was warm, slightly cloudy, and again, bitter. I didn't drink it. I simply set it beside me, closed my eyes, and pretended to nap. That's when she made her move. I heard her soft steps approach. Then the faintest click, the oxygen regulator, followed by the unmistakable sound of the tube disconnecting. I froze, heart pounding. Then another sound, crinkle, rip. She was going through the desk. She was looking for the will. But she didn't know I had replaced it with a decoy, a copy, without the envelope. The real one was in Henry's possession. Then came her gasp. The moment she flipped through the pages and found the taped envelope on the back page, I heard her tear it off, tear it open. A beat of silence, then the rustle of paper. Then, no. Her footsteps thudded out of the room, down the hall, panic in every movement. I reconnected my oxygen line myself, barely. My vision blurred, lungs burning, but I made it. I called Henry immediately. "She found it," I said. "I'll be at your house in 30 minutes. Lisa didn't come back to my room. She stayed in her bedroom door locked. By the time Henry arrived with a police officer, I didn't even know he'd called. Lisa had fled, but not far. They found her in her car down the street, shaking, sobbing, claiming misunderstanding and forged documents. It didn't work. The footage, the recorded calls, and most of all, the letter she opened with her own fingerprints told the truth. David returned that night pale and silent. I saw the betrayal tear through his face as the officer recounted Lisa's actions. "She tried to kill him," Henry said bluntly. "Twice." David sank to the floor beside me, eyes wide, face in his hands. "Dad, I had no idea." "I know," I whispered, "but now you do." The will had done more than protect my assets. It had protected my life. And for Lisa, it was the beginning of her unraveling. Lisa was arrested that same night, charged with attempted murder and elder abuse. The footage, the audio files, and the forensic evidence from the tea and soup she'd served me, it was undeniable. The paramedics confirmed traces of sleeping pills and muscle relaxants in both. She had been poisoning me slowly, methodically, trying to make it look like I was dying from my illness. And she might have succeeded if I hadn't seen through her smile. The trial took 6 months. I was called to testify, and despite the effort it took just to sit upright in that courtroom, I did. My voice trembled, my breath wheezed through the oxygen tubes, but every word I said cut through the silence. I trusted her, I told the jury. I called her my daughter. And she looked me in the eye while planning how to kill me. Lisa sat across from me, hollow-eyed and cold. David refused to look at her. When the verdict came guilty on all counts, I didn't feel triumph, just release. Lisa was sentenced to 14 years in prison. David filed for divorce the very next day. As for me, I made it through the darkest chapter of my life, not by strength of body, but by the sharp edge of memory and will. I rewrote my actual will with Henry's help once again, this time leaving everything to David, with one condition: that he use part of the estate to help others like me, the vulnerable, the silenced, the almost forgotten. He agreed without hesitation. "You saved yourself, Dad," he said one evening, helping me into bed. "You saved me too." We never talked about Lisa again. We didn't need to. Her name was now just a shadow, and the light had returned to our home. Some nights I still wake in fear. I see her face, hear the click of that oxygen valve. But then I feel the soft hiss beside me and know I'm still alive. And I'm not afraid anymore, because the woman who tried to end me found something worse than vengeance. She found the truth, and it destroyed her. If you're reading this, let my story be more than just a cautionary tale. It should be a warning and a call to action. As we age, we often place our trust in those closest to us, believing love and blood protect us. But the truth is, not every smile is kind, and not every hand that feeds is safe. Protect yourself. Document everything. Speak up even when your voice is weak. Evil doesn't always come with a knife. Sometimes it comes with tea and a kiss on the forehead. To those with aging parents or loved ones, be present. Ask questions. Notice changes. And above all, listen. I nearly died because I stayed silent too long. But in the end, I wrote the truth, and the truth saved me. Let it save you too.